Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Science of Spirit. This is Janice. And on a previous podcast, I had discussed a little bit about politics and what's been going on here in the United States, which I'm sure the whole world is pretty much watching. But I've tried to stay out of that and not really give any leanings one way or the other and let people, make their own decisions. And I still think that that's an absolute necessity. But I also thought at the same time, now may be the time for me to discuss this a little bit about what's actually going on. Because it could be very, very confusing if you don't have some kind of inner guidance to tell you, to point you in the right direction, because it can look one way when actually something else is going on underneath the surface. And this is why I've really been trying to get people to learn to do their own channeling, learn to follow their own inner guidance. Keep your vibration in a good, happy place as best you can. Now, some of this is going to be based on things I've channeled, but a lot of it is also my own conclusions to things. So they may or may not be correct, but I am going to tell you the story of how I think this whole thing is happening. So, from what I can tell, a long time ago, and I don't know how long ago, it was decided that this planet, when spirits would come and incarnate here, it was going to be a planet that was more limiting. Planet of limitation is what Bashar refers to it. Where it's fairly difficult to be able to bring things into the physical. And what I mean by that is, you're using your thoughts and your beliefs to bring things into the physical. Because when you are in the spirit, it's just instantaneous. But when you come into the physical and have a physical body, and especially a biological physical body, it changes things a bit. Things slow down. Now, I do want to say that there is a difference between having a biological physical body and having an astral body that is solidified. A lot of spirits or other entities can solidify an astral body, but it's not biological. In other words, it doesn't have all the cells and that whole makeup. And I believe that they can materialize it and dematerialize it, so it's not the same as having a biological body. So I believe we've come here as a challenge. It makes it extra challenging when you've got a slightly negative bent going against things, so that it's even more difficult to overcome that in order to have a positive outcome. But it can still be done. It's not so bad that it can't be done. And what I think has happened is there was a certain point where we decided we've had enough of it. We've explored it like up one side and down the other. And there's now going to be an ending to that. And I think that's what a lot of people saw as, the end of the world. Well, it's the end of an old world, but a beginning of another one, where it's going to start going into the positive, where it won't be such a limiting place to be anymore. And where you can experience being in a physical body, but having a lot more joy and freedom and fun to be exploring in. And since we're actually all spirit, we collectively, as spirit, decided to do this. We decided to have the limiting factors initially, and we decided to take them away. So it's still spirit that's in control of this. It's really kind of a game we play down here. So over the last several years, there have been quite a few people who have actually been lighting the earth on a daily basis, or at least sending good vibes in any number of ways to the planet. And that has been slowly exposing all of the darkness. So that's all been coming up more and more and more. And now we're getting it, all over the place. You're seeing corruption here, there, and everywhere. And I think a good majority of people have no idea how dark it really has been. That there's been this almost kind of an underworld that runs underneath. It's almost like, another reality, because most people don't have any contact with it at all. I mean, it's that dark and very negative. So that vibe has been running, kind of simultaneously with other people who do have, reasonably happy lives and are good-natured and are very loving. But you've still got this underlying current that has been causing problems, really, for a very long time. So I think now that we're actually getting to the point where both of these vibrations can't really coexist all that well anymore. And not that they ever really did, but I think those in the more positive bent are really moving up more so. And it's creating this divide, really even more of a divide, where they're not going to be able to exist. Maybe there's still a little bit of an overlap in like the midsection there, but I think there's going to be a point where the one side is only going to go so low, and that's as far as it's going to go. And the others in the negative side, I don't know. There could be a true splitting off of parallel realities, and those, who want to stay in the negative frame of mind can do that, and those who want to move on can do that as well. I mean, that's the most balanced thing, I suppose, to do. Everyone has free will to do whatever they want. And I think even those who are on the negative path will eventually get out of that at some point and have enough of it and be done. But until that happens, the others who are ready to go and have a happier and positive vibration are going to want to be more creative in that way. But right now, as it stands, you've just got a lot of chaos. You've got Trump, who's basically turning over rocks and looking under every rock there is and saying, hey, look here, and so we're all looking there. And you're just seeing corruption, corruption, corruption. And those people who are on the negative side truly think that he is the worst thing ever and that he's ruining everything, and, their world is crashing down, and they don't like that. And then there are the people who are just generally confused, who've been listening to the mainstream media and are not getting a clear picture of what truly is going on behind the scenes. And I would say that a good portion of these folks really don't follow their own inner guidance. So really, for centuries now, humans have been very abusive. They're abusive to each other, to the planet, to the animals, to kind of everything. But it's because at some point this negativity was introduced. I don't think that humans naturally really would be all that abusive, or at least keep passing it down. It's just this wheel that goes around and around. The abused become the abusers. Not always, but a good portion of them do. And so it just keeps going on and on and on. And you've got this underlying negativity, this sort of negative vibration that's just passed down. And it can get pretty dark. There are people who really, worship other things other than God, have no belief in God, and do really awful things to other people. And I don't know that most people ever see that or get involved in it or even hear about it, but it is there. And once again, that's another thing that's being brought out into the open. And what I'm really referring to is that satanic ritual abuse, which is something that's been going on for who knows how long. And most people don't even know about it. I wasn't aware of it until probably a couple of years ago. I thought it was, a one-off thing where once in a while you'd run into somebody who had been abused in that way. When Trump talks about, stopping human trafficking, he's not just talking about a few women crossing the border with a couple of kids. He's talking about this dark, deep human trafficking of children, babies, and adults too. But whether a person is into very dark, negative behavior or someone who's very into the positive side, either way, you're still part of the fabric of God, whether you want to believe that or not. So a lot of what has been going on over the years is really this low, low vibe of fear and negativity that is kind of this undercurrent that's always been running. And it's caused by a lot of people who actually believe in evil. I mean, you can call them part of a deep, dark cult, Luciferians, and many communists and globalists are part of this as well. And they prey on kids, especially kids who've been abused and are easily swayed and to go along with them. And they end up trafficking them. And whether you've been aware of this whole thing, going on, it's been going on for, years and years and years. I mean, it could even be centuries, could be longer than that. But it's coming to an end, and that's part of what's crumbling down. And so there's a lot of chaos going on along with that, the tearing down of that. And this same group is the group that's basically been running things in this world. And that's why there's always this negative bent. Everything is based on negativity. Your financial situation, never enough money instead of having plenty of money for everybody. It could be that way. It's just a matter of choice as to what has been implemented throughout the centuries. So we're witnessing this tearing down of everything. You're seeing corruption in everything from, absolutely everything. It's infiltrated all systems, and most of it is all coming down. The educational system will need to be revamped. The health system, obviously political stuff, voting, voting for sure, among other things. And once people realize what's been going on, I think you're going to see a lot of anger come out. But as my higher self has said, people have been running on fear and kind of complacency, not wanting to see anything bad because they've got enough to deal with. I get it. But now that has to change. And once it is realized what's been going on, that fear can turn to anger, and hopefully not violent anger, but just anger in what's been going on, and is justified. But from there, it's possible then to move on up into change, getting things changed. Anger tends to make changes, tends to push things forward. And from there, you can go from hope and to peacefulness and contentedness, and then at some point to joy, and then all those things that go along with that. If all of that then is being brought into our world collective consciousness, that is going to be amazing. And what it appears is that this awakening is in the process of going on right now. And once there's a certain, I guess, number of people that have kind of tipped the scales to the positive, then it would seem that this solar event flash is kind of properly timed with that. I'm not exactly sure how this works, but it's like the flash kind of jumps it up a notch. So once you are in that state of higher vibration, it will magnify that and make it even better. So I think it's kind of a timing issue with that. That's just my opinion on that. I have had a little bit of a glimpse with my higher self, and I'm kind of coming away with it something to that effect. So once we as a people, collectively, throughout the world, start standing up for ourselves, which is kind of a form of getting angry and just putting your foot down and saying, no more of this junk, no more of this crap. That's when things are really going to change. And it will change for the better, because the darkness will start to just have to crumble away. But we do have to be ready with systems to put in place to replace the old as well, which I believe here in the United States that has been taken into account. I'm sure the financial system has been, because that's been known for a long time that the current banking system is not going to work. That's why you've got the global faction talking about doing a reset, although that's probably not the reset everybody wants. So you might keep an eye on that. Because there's something that is more based on being for the people, where that one, it looks like it is, but it's not really. It's more of a control thing. So you just keep your eyes open and notice what's going on. I believe that here in the United States, once Trump is back in as president, he's not going anywhere, and all this voter fraud and stuff has gone through, people will then be really paying attention and realize that, this is for the betterment of everybody. So I do highly recommend trying to keep your fears and anxiety at bay as best you can. And I know it's not easy because I can feel it coming kind of from the collective too. But do the best you can, because it is all going to work out. No matter how scary this looks right now, it is going to work out, and fairly soon. Sooner than later. How's that? So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. But I think it's all within perfect or divine timing, whatever you want to refer to it as. Whatever way you choose to, I do think that we all should participate in some way. So whether you're a person who is fine with peacefully protesting some injustice, lockdowns, whatever, or you're a person who wants to send light and prayer out, that's extremely helpful. Whatever way you want to do it, I do recommend taking some sort of active participation in saying, no, we want something different, and visualizing what you do want. Because remaining in fear or being complacent is pretty much just saying you're okay with it. You're fine with being locked down. You're fine with someone else controlling your life. Even though you may not be verbally giving consent, you kind of are. So I think that does need to change, and I think people are waking up more and more. And that is what's going to create a huge difference in the consciousness, the collective consciousness of the planet. And then we will truly see things change, and for the better. And I think it'll be really awesome. So hang in there, because I think it's coming soon. What I've been doing myself is really imagining and envisioning the world I want to live in as though it's happening right now. And it's really helped to keep my vibration up, because I'm noticing that I can kind of sometimes teeter on this edge of anxiety on one end and excitement on the other. And it seems to flow from one to the other, depending on where I'm kind of at. And I've never been a person to really be anxious. That's not my normal way of going. I usually have a very kind of calm demeanor. It's not, high-flying excitement, but it's not this anxiety either. But now I'm noticing that. It seems to go from one to the other, and there's kind of a sweet spot. But I'm not finding it real easy to maintain. But I do feel it's crucial to really envision how you want to see things and not be completely focused on all the corruption. Yeah, it needs to come out. People need to know about it. But then we need to move forward with what we truly envision our lives to be like. And also envisioning a world where most people are happy. Wouldn't that be a blessing, to deal with people who are mostly doing okay, or better than okay? Imagine everyone having all the food they really need to eat, so nobody goes hungry, and most people have a place to live if that's if that's what they want. Not everybody does. And just that feeling of having freedom, joy, ease, and harmony in your life. So to everybody out there listening, let's envision a phenomenal, beautiful new world together. Thank you for listening to The Science of Spirit. This podcast can be heard on YouTube, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Spotify. Have a great week, everybody.